Which
Okay.
presentation is this?
The one that you're missing out on.
Nice. I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't want to tell.
Okay.
Go ahead and bring your machine.
Oh, no, I need.
We're going to talk about some concepts that are perfect.
Okay. Okay.
What's the one?
That's fine. Yeah, I mean, I still want to listen in. I still want to listen in. I'd rather hear it again than.
How am I going to do this if I can't see my screen?
You could just duplicate the displays.
Yeah, but that makes it so that I can't have stuff open here. Okay, I'll just try it like this. This will be alright. Somewhat alright.
Could you run through the out on the monitor? And just use the out on the monitor so that way you can have both screens going.
I'm going to try this real quick.
Yeah, only a little bit.
So right now you're trying to compare to.
I wouldn't try streaming this in like 1080p or anything. At most,
What?
Gotta get off his computer.
What's up?
Oh, okay.
What's up?
Huh?
The bottom line over there.
No, some, oh, sorry, bottom line. Never see.
The bottom line.
It's a secret.
If you can read this all the way
Oh.
please get off
It's a
my
secret, yeah.
computer,
It's a secret. Okay. Cool. Let me just real quick double check that this is working, because that's always good to have it working. Okay.
Streaming, you probably test if the stream is working and if the settings will either.
Yeah, we can check that out.
Like,
What are you doing, YouTube or Twitch or what?
He's doing it through
The
YouTube.
network by pulling down what you're trying to put up.
He's doing it through YouTube, but I would not recommend
The network's
YouTube
gotta
for
be
like
strong enough.
streaming forever.
What's the username on YouTube that you're gonna be streaming on?
What's that?
The name, the username on YouTube that you're gonna be streaming.
I linked it in Slack.
Slack?
What's up?
Let's check it out. Alright.
Yeah, so that team, migrated down. I don't know exactly what my name is. So you are definitely welcome to migrate.
Hey, look. Oh, is he currently live?
Mm-hmm. He is.
This is good practice.
Press the button on
Just drop
it.
it.
Be live.
Okay. So that's one I'm kind of just waiting.
Did you set this to public or private?
I think it's public.
It should be public because I don't even have you. I haven't added your channel yet. Yeah, that's awesome. There you go.
We probably don't need the sound on over there, though.
No, I'm gonna turn it off. I'm just gonna get out of here.
Alright.
It's working.
A very big delayed echo.
Okay.
What did you say about the sound?
We probably don't need the sound. Yeah, we probably don't need that. Okay.
That's one I recommend.
I mean, I think I have a spare headset if you need one.
So,
Because I have my fun wireless internet.
Your fun wireless?
The fun wireless one. There's a terrible wireless one. It's like nothing but like a coat hanger. It's held together with like Scotch tape because I couldn't find duct tape. No.
And some soup cans, copper wire.
Yeah, soup cans, copper wire,
It's a bag of.
and the belief in the world.
I'm just gonna
Some strings.
don't know how this is gonna work exactly. HDMI cord is like the shortest thing in the world right now.
So for the sake of clarity, Jay, we are at the end of module 24. Everybody is deployed, right? Effectively.
No. I'm not picking up from module 24. I am like, all of this is basically picking up from where I last left off and just adding a piece of CRUD functionality and it being able, so adding something to the server and then interacting with that on the client. That's all this is. This is not deployed. It doesn't, the difference between working locally and working on a deployed environment is just like, there's no difference.
Like 20 minutes.
I just meant in terms of code completion.
In terms of code completion, there's yeah,
They have some idea of whether.
there's no difference. So like, for their sake, I would have expected them to have some client set up, and so all we need to know about is some client and some server working. Okay, that's all that really needs to be set up here. Okay, so this is extremely difficult. So what I'm just going to do is duplicate my duplicate my screens here. So that's okay. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So you guys can see the same things that I can see, I believe. Should be the case. Yeah. See, this is what happens with like this resolution, is that it kind of chops it. Is that still visible to you guys? You can see what's going on? Okay, cool. So currently I've got my database set up. Let's go ahead and add another one of these guys.
If you want to migrate to that, migrating to the table, that is what you have to do what I just said. Like look at the
Okay.
comparisons that we did yesterday, the example we got there, and
Pull that up.
basically replicate.
Cool. So it looks like this is where I left off last time.
Precisely why the recommended just right click. Because the server goes to the server.
3001, that's pinging 3001. We want it to be pinging 3001, but it's not. Okay, so we're actually not going to use this one. I'm still getting some stuff set up, guys. Sorry about that. All right, so instead, we're just gonna do this.
Now, if you go back, you can notice as all the information that you generated in the table with all these columns.
I think this one is a little further along. So this. Port 3000, okay. Okay. What? This isn't even the... There we go. Okay. That's something a little closer to like what you guys have. And I believe my sign up was working as well. Sweet. So we're getting that back. Cool. Okay. All right. So this is pretty much as far as I am here. Okay. You guys good back there, or?
Unfortunately, he's been trying to implement his updated CRUD. So it's not in a functioning state right now, so we can't go through the procedure.
Okay. Do you
I think it
want?
would be worth him just following along with the steps rather than this.
Because I can't verify anything's working.
Because he can't log in.
Okay. Well, we can address that later, I guess. Yeah. So if you want to well, if you guys want to work on the other side, that's fine. We can. This is really the 15-minute. It should take like 15 minutes to do to satisfy the requirements for the project. Is that kind of intense to think about?
I call you a liar.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know what you're doing, sure.
So that's what I'm saying, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like, if we understand what we're doing,
Yeah, that makes sense.
then it's not too bad.
But we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah. So the idea with this is that we'll go through it knowing what we're doing, and hopefully like retain some of it.
I think it's
So-
worth you sitting here and watching this with a non-functioning. Sure. We'll get it.
Let's just get this like way up front and center. It's messed with the resolution a little bit, but yeah.
HDMI is running all the way to the screen, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just like the worst
Is there
setup.
no port on that side?
Mm-mm. Okay. All right. So the current state of this application is we're able to sign up and add users. That's it. So we have some. In your applications, you have some form that you can fill out to submit data to the server, and that adds it to the database. I'm going to real quickly, or attempt to quickly, open up the database and show you that the users that I'm creating are actually being stored, right? You know, after they're being hit by the API, after they're hitting the API. Okay. So this classroom's a little warmer than the other one, huh?
A lot warm.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm acclimated to the other one.
Yeah,
This
me
is hot.
too.
This is tropical.
I don't notice it until I start
you
typing.
live in Indiana, like you haven't acclimated to anything.
I expect to see
Because
palm
nothing
trees
makes sense
and
here.
Okay, so
running.
so while we're waiting, the idea is we're going to start. And okay, so we want to have a plan of attack. So we want to know what I always start with the high level goal. We want to add a piece of CRUD functionality. I want you guys to just tell me what we want. Like, what are we wanting to work with? What kind of data do we want to add to our database? Modify whatever.
Shoe size.
Shoe size. Okay. Okay. Sure.
Or something else. Doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense with me. That makes sense to me.
This is the first thing popped in my head.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to be able to add shoes to a database with an image URL, not the actual image file, but a link to a certain type of shoe and like the brand and like the model, because that's like how shoes work, I guess. It's like it's like cars. It's like in everything. You have the make and the model for items, and then you have like an image to show you what we're looking at. So is that fair?
You had to say shoes.
Is that fair? It could be a workout, right? But we're just CRUD, adding a piece of CRUD functionality is just picking out some information that you want to store or modify or preserve in a database. That's it, right? So like some people have chosen to do like bicycling. They want a timer. Time is a piece of information that we're just storing in a database, really. So let's start on the server side. Right, so I want to not dive into the code. I want to understand what I'm doing before I go and just do it. So we've identified shoes, thanks Ian. We want to store shoe information. We will store 3 properties. We'll store the manufacturer and is it shoe model? Is that what?
I don't know. Item number? I don't know.
We'll just, I don't know,
Shoes, my wife
anybody?
makes me buy shoes.
Shoe type? Yeah, like the type? Yeah.
Running,
Okay, yeah, there we go. Like a category. We'll have a category and then we'll have like the name of the shoe. Okay, so an image, a category, a name, and an image for the shoe. An image URL. Nope. Sorry. Okay, so, well, is that okay?
It's got a simple database.
Isn't it all
That's putting the models, right?
I'm just saying, well, this is for demonstrative purposes.
Okay.
So we've identified shoes. We want to store those in the database. We want to be able to update those things in the database. So, okay. So I want to start on the server because I need to have the server set up. I need to create the tables in my database. What do we use? Because our server is written in JavaScript. We don't really write SQL queries to create tables or drop tables. We write JavaScript, on our server side. We configure our DB on the server side, and so what do we use to do that? What?
SQLize.
We use SQLize to configure all of our DB stuff. So that's tables, that's the database itself, that's creating the connection to our database. Luckily, all of us already have the database configured. See, we already have a connection to our workout log database, okay? We've even got routes set up. We've even got, in our app.js, we've even got it all really scaffolded for the most part. We've already got things like body parser going on so that it knows how to handle incoming requests and parse the information. So like from here on, it's easy to update. The initial scaffolding of the API of the server side is robust. There's a lot of moving parts. Once you have that initial structure set up, it's not too bad. Like it's not too much to add a table and then set up interactions with that table. What do we use to represent our tables in our server side here? Model, good job. So I propose we start by configuring a model, okay? So I have a user model, shoe model, okay? And I could maybe say, you'll get to a point where you can just know what's supposed to go inside this. But even if I know what's supposed to go inside of this model, I can actually just grab this. I've already got one pre-built. So like, why work harder when you can work smarter? We know what's going on. We understand the idea of our model. Let's just take the one that we've already created and kind of modify it, copy it and modify it so that it fits our new table structure, okay? So I'm going to just copy the content of our user model, throw it into shoe, get rid of user, we don't need to mess with that anymore, and I'm gonna start playing around with this. So I'm gonna say let, oh, it's not case sensitive, okay. So I'm going to say let shoe, and then down here I'm going to make sure that we're returning shoe, okay? We'll define this as the shoe table.
We have it, or I have it as returning serialized, define, and then the thing. Is that just an easier way of doing it, or that's how we did it in the module?
Hey man, watching your stream, no video though. Okay.
Yeah, the video stopped.
The video stopped?
Yeah, OBS crashed.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. You seem to be going.
Great track.
Let's see if that works. Would you guys tell me? I don't want to like cause the infinite mirror thing to happen. Okay.
There we go.
There we go.
How's that look? Is that better? Okay. Cool.
Don't have him hear it himself, that makes another infinite.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So now we've gotten to the part, and to answer your question, I don't know off the top of my head. I would have to look at it to tell you for sure. What I know for sure is that this works.
Gotcha.
Okay. So I'm just going to stick with this. Okay. So, but our shoe doesn't have a username and a password. That's absurd.
Well, you could.
You could.
If the shoe
Our shoe table could have those defined as the columns, right? We're right here is where we're saying what columns exist in those tables. So I said we wanted to store. The type. Okay, so the type and okay. I'm gonna call that shoe type. Okay, is that okay?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to leave that as a string, okay? I'm really just going to keep all of these data types as string for the most part. Maybe there's a shoe size, like if you're ordering a shoe, you might have a shoe size, and that could be an integer. but for the purpose of this demonstration, we'll just stick with the three properties the three traits we set up initially. So we'll have the shoe type. What was the other one?
Is it brand?
Okay, actually name is what we had it. So shoe name, and I'm just gonna say shoe name. Okay. Shoe name, and then actually I'm gonna do shoe URL. Okay, cool. We've created that model successfully. Yay! All right. Now that we've got the model, we need to figure out what we need with the model now is now we need to configure how we're going to interact with that model in our table or in our database. What do we use to configure, like where is it that we store those operations of interacting with the database? The routes. That's where we have all the operations for creating a user and doing stuff with the user. Our shoe route, the methods are going to look a little more simple because we don't need to have quite as much validation. We don't really need to, we don't need to do any bcrypt stuff. We don't need to, unhash or hash a password when it's created. We can just look in the data. We can just post the information to our database. Okay. So, however, what I will do is I will grab that and that. Whoops. And I'm going to create the shoe route. So we're good. We created our model. We're good on that, right? Okay. Done. Check. That will represent our shoe table in our database. Okay.
Where is this at?
Yeah. So in the model, we just set up the shoe.js model in the models folder. Okay, now we're moving into the routes and we're going to configure this stuff. Okay, and we don't care about the user inside of our shoe. Okay, does that make sense? And again, it's like, why reinvent the wheel? So if I want to handle a post, so I'm going to set it up so that I can create a shoe, add a shoe to the database. All right. So we can say router.post, and then perhaps we'll say shoe. We don't even really need to, oh, whoops, going to the wrong place. We don't need to add any other route. We'll just say, we don't need to extend that path at all for that endpoint. We'll just say whenever a post request is sent to shoe, do this. Okay. And I'm just referencing what's over here. So we've got, okay, so the .post method accepts an endpoint and then what to do at that endpoint. What to do, rec and response. Okay. Cool.
Jake, quick question. Right there on the user, when you add an endpoint to it, like in this case, we're doing sign up, right?
Yep.
When you do that, it will only do what you're going to tell it if it takes a request from that endpoint? Only?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we backtrack to what's happening with our user, we have this endpoint. So when a post request is sent to user, so let's back up a minute here. Let's go to the root of our server, the app.js file. Right here, we say app.use API user require user routes. Okay, so whenever a request is received at this endpoint, this API user, this user endpoint, the request is sent here. Okay, and so this request, so it's a post. Let's say a post request is sent to API user. Okay. goes into this file and it says, oh, okay, well, it's a post request at this endpoint. We don't know what to do. All I know is that it's going to this endpoint and that this file handles that. So now that we're inside that file, okay, now we start breaking down the request even further and we say, okay, so let's back up a minute. What type of request is this? Oh, it's a post request? Okay, cool. Well, I have two different post methods. One is configured for /signup and one is configured for /signin. So a user, the client will send two different types of post requests. They'll send one to sign in or sign up, okay? And that's how we separate that out there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So here, though, when a post request is sent to shoe, right, we're going to handle the shoe route will handle all requests that are sent to the shoe endpoint. But we don't need to say like shoe/create. We're just going to say if it's a post request, we know what's going on at this endpoint. Okay. Okay. So, like what we do with the, I'm going to kind of emulate what goes on here. Okay. So the post request for a user, sign up, because really it's the same thing. Okay. But I won't scaffold it that much. I'll say shoe.create, right? And we're creating a new shoe. And that shoe has three different properties, right? Shoe type, okay. A shoe name, and a shoe URL, okay? What goes on the other side of these colons here? We need to set those property values. Where are we getting the information from? Client side, okay. But how do we reference what the client has sent over here?
You gotta look at the request into the body and then.
What is look at the models?
Well, we're in the model right now. We've referenced the model here by saying shoe, and we imported shoe up here at the top by saying let shoe equal sequelize.import models shoe, okay? And then down here we say shoe.create, and the create method accepts an object that has all of the same properties that our shoe model has, okay? And then Nate said that we can look inside the request body, and we'll say that inside that body we expect our user to send a shoe object, shoe.type rec.body.shoe.name rec.body.shoe.url. Okay. What's wrong with what I've typed here? It's a small thing. Commas. Yeah, that's it. Not a brain teaser. Just commas. Okay. Okay. I want to just, for syntax sake or consistency's sake, wanted to double check something. Okay. So, okay, cool. Shoe.create. That is how Sequelize does so much for us. That .create method literally adds that up. It takes that information, creates a shoe model object, converts that into a SQL query that looks into the shoe table and adds all that in for us. Like, how cool is that? Pretty cool. Otherwise, you'd have to write a lot of SQL to do that. SQL is not really fun to write, particularly in JavaScript. At least I don't think so. I don't know. Anyway, when it's done doing that, okay, we're going to do a then. Remember, .then has two different parameters. Each are a method. One for the success. Okay, so we'll say one will basically return the data and do something with that. And the other will be if there is an error, okay? Okay, and we'll return a message, okay, and we'll say create, we'll say successfully, is that how you spell successfully? A lot of double letters, right? 2 C's, 2 S's, 2 L's, okay. Successfully created a shoe, congrats. Okay, and then we'll have data. Double check something here. Oh, sorry, been in a different language. Okay, we don't want those quotes around. We don't want these quotes here. We're just writing an object, and this automatically is converted to JSON for us. So, okay, data will be the data. Whoops. Okay. Oh, my bad. We won't call this data, we'll call this shoe. Okay. Remember, this is impromptu. Okay. There was an error creating a shoe. Sorry about that. Okay. And then the, and actually, you know what? I probably shouldn't try and be funny here. We'll just return the error.message. Just remember, there's a more formal thing to respond with that may be more useful than just a sorry about that, right? Okay. Cool. So, gonna back up here for a moment. We started off with this. Created our model. Cool. Went ahead and set up a route. Oh, also got to have that comma between there. Am I missing something here? No, I don't think so. I think that'll go away. Is that like that? Huh?
Saying expecting a semicolon.
Yeah. We need another brackets between the two.
No. Oh, whoops. We don't just do... Sorry, guys. This is all a function. So when this function runs, do this. res.send parens around the object. Yeah, that's better. If that was pseudocode, it kind of made more sense, but it's not. Okay, so remember, these two functions will be ran. If we create the shoe, we'll do this. We'll say response.send this object back. Okay, and then if it's an error, response.send this object back with the error message. Okay, cool. Kenny, are you coding along? Cool. Is this working for you? Sweet. Just want to double check. Is anyone else coding along? Sweet. Sweet. Daquan, maybe?
No, I did this last.
App.js is the entry point for this. Okay. Is everything good? Okay. So down here, when we said, so down here when we say app.use this endpoint, and when you receive a request at this endpoint, handle it with those routes. Okay.
You're good. You're good.
Okay.
You're good to go.
Okay.
You crashed for a moment, but
Okay. Cool. I'll just wait for a minute just to make sure.
oh no, you're good. It was streaming.
Okay. So at this endpoint, not the user endpoint, but the shoe endpoint, and we'll handle it with the shoe route, right? Cool. Cool. Let's try running this.
Middleware function with that object. Then mine's broken in the first place.
Uh-oh. You know what I think we forgot about in our route? Module exports. we never exported our router. We tried to import it. We never exported it.
The router was looking for it, but the file wasn't giving it to the routers.
Yeah. Yay. Okay. I think we're going to get another error, but let's find out first.
That's
Okay.
my motto.
Okay. So we want to set up a new, we want to test this endpoint. Where is it? It's localhost 3000. Okay, so in Postman, I want to test the API/shoe. Okay, I can't send a GET request yet, right?
We haven't created it.
We didn't configure that. We set up for a post request. Okay, and the body will be raw, and it's going to be raw JSON. Okay, our body needs to have a shoe object inside of it. Shoe. And that shoe object has 3 properties. Type. We'll say high top. High top. Name, Chuck Taylor's. Chuck Taylor, yeah. Okay, and then URL. Okay. So, copy image address. Cool. Let's send it. Relation shoes does not exist. What did Ken do an entire lesson on? But not setting up a server, Sequelize, but what part of Sequelize?
Migration. Yeah, we need
Migrations. What are migrations for?
Updating models.
Oh, wait, hold on. What? What are you?
Updating models.
Updating models? Closer? I want something even lower level. I want to know what we're when we migrate, what are we doing with our database?
Updating it?
We're updating the tables. We're reconfiguring the tables in our database. So the way that we did this before was by dropping the table, right? Ken went over a whole thing on migrations, which make it so that you can update your tables without having to drop all the information that's already in them, okay? However, I'm not going to do that for simplicity's sake. I'm just going to drop the tables and recreate them with the new models, right? So how do I do that? I should not do that. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to do Sequelize.sync force true, right? Okay. Whee! Okay. It looks like it did something. It's executing these What is this? These are literally SQL queries. Create table if not exist shoes. Blah. Right? Okay. I'm going to, it looks like my PG admin actually loaded. If you guys can actually see that, I would be madly impressed. For some reason, pgadmin, amongst other applications, this is a rant, by the way, totally unrelated to what we're learning about.
They don't scale.
Some applications do not scale with high resolution, so they just stay super tiny. Extremely difficult to see. Extremely frustrating user experience.
I had the same problem yesterday.
If we get inside here, and we dive down, just a little bit more, and we dive down just a little bit more, we have two tables, the user table and the shoe table.
Did that drop the user table as well? Or that
It dropped the user table, yeah. It dropped everything.
every table's been turned upside down.
Exactly. Okay. But that's okay, because now I should be able to post my shoe. Woo! Okay. That's okay. All right, let's take a 2-minute break. Let's make sure that everyone who's coding along is able to do this. Okay? Cool.
Because I wasn't doing shoot, I was just doing it for.
What? Yeah. A lot of. Yeah, with. I mean, no. It's just the fact that we're all on the internet, and the internet's already kind of slow with numbers at the same time. So it's going off its replay buffer.
That's true. There is actually heat. We can look at that later.
So all the locally stored stuff that he has is what's being streamed instead of like anything that you're not going to get. Not with business here.
Is that live?
It's super easy. And then there's also a factor in your download speed.
Yeah.
Is upload speed.
That's where it's
Right.
from.
How the routers configured to handle different devices.
And you are not going to get anywhere near to live if you're trying to do it here while everyone's trying. You're not going to get anywhere close to live streaming, like actual live.
Yeah, Andre has been noticed that like you're still coding, right?
Am I really?
Yeah,
On the
the
screen.
delay is going to be huge considering your upload speed, everybody's download speed.
Yeah.
So Logan saying it's down could be because your stream is 10 minutes behind.
Yeah, we could do that.
Clayton, I do think that you have to separate this out here. See how I define shoe here? And then I export shoe? That makes it so that when I go to my route, I can refer to the shoe. Actually, take that back. I'm backtracking. What you did is fine. You want your thing is look.
So Kelly should just.
Your team might have cheated.
No.
Our teachers are involved.
Oh, actually, wait, hold up. Sorry. Where's your save?
Um,
routes.
I broke it.
Yeah.
I'm breaking my modals.
Yeah, that happens to me like every. Just try to have something different. And we'll do this.
Well, I want to so it was starting off.
I tried sizing my gun too. I didn't know how to do that. Well, like it wasn't taking the command. I could change the background.
Oh, wait, so you have it.
So what you need to do is to actually go in when you're logging in, check out what the class is, because it.
I'm so used to doing the dump
Javascript, it uses a lot of like it adds classes.
Okay.
And that's where a lot of it is.
All right.
It adds
Yeah.
classes to the body.
I got one down.
Edit that.
So it's not just normal body. It's something that's on top of it.
Yeah.
I tried to print that.
I can just tell you what it is. I have it open. It's the model. It's the class.
User.
Modal
At
backdrop.
day calories.
Oh, background.
Yeah.
I thought it'll change the
And actually
color.
shoe,
So I
we need to
can
make
change
sure
the
that
size.
our object shoe is
You
capitalized.
can change the size. That's just like the entire thing. It'll pop up.
So emo backdrop, you can use property to modify the size.
No?
Yeah. Something else.
Does that show in the HTML?
Yeah.
It's
Here, like you can check it out.
so I try to inspect it. It's not at it. And like when modals, it's like those are two different worlds at the same time.
Well,
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
because right now, if you notice,
How
like,
does this work?
you can see like background is kind of figured out.
File.
That is
Yeah, that'll do it. You're right.
class of backdrop.
So-
Then
That
this
What's that?
little
Wow. Oh, okay.
body will open.
So the body's all open. Is that like
And the backdrop is the one that is like the background.
yeah, I've changed that whole thing to white. And it's like, holy crap, looks like a whole new page. But it's not.
Object with
So, and you can make it look like it's going to a different page, but you're not.
I think you can even get this to change it.
This goes in somewhere else. Right?
Congratulations, it looks like I have multiple
Page
pages.
change, but it's not really.
I'm lying to you.
Yeah.
Because
What's
why
a
would I?
brand? Timberland? And then
Everybody gotta get this chat. Start like shit posting this chat.
What?
Start shit posting this chat, do it. Essentially what everybody does in random.
let's just do done for now.
No one even said anything about the dinosaur.
The dinosaur.
See, so no one checks this out chat for me.
I do. Let's go to the dinosaur. The dinosaur and the little emoji dinosaur?
No, I put it like dinosaur video.
No, I did that today.
Yeah.
I did it today.
I would not have your sound on.
No,
Or do. It could be
Well,
hilarious.
it's doing something.
Just make sure you're close to the cheese.
It's loading something.
Right? I wouldn't put a thing about a dinosaur. Oh, dancing after a dinosaur.
Okay.
Very good. What the fuck?
These they have.
These guys are still pretty cool.
Got some pipes on.
Am I spelling shoe correctly?
SHOE?
All of them look the same.
All the words of the
you
language
can also
look
spell shoe
super
with X
weird.
U.
If you stare at them long enough
The
by
more you
themselves,
type them over and over and over again, the more it's like.
they look so weird.
Yeah.
Like V.
Ah.
That's what I keep trying to put an E in group.
No,
I have
V.
for years.
E in what?
GRUPE is how I thought it was for the longest time. Like,
That is an actual
E
thing, though.
out of there.
That is a thing now. That's
Like a
even
fish.
diagonal.
Like a fish. Not the car.
Notice things, the keel looks really weird.
There we go. Alright. Alright. Alright.
Oh my gosh.
Shoe.create is not a function. Okay, so in your route, when we import shoe, we say let shoe equal
That'll be the last week we talked.
import.
This is a great idea.
Let me show you what I've got. Let me show you what I've got.
What?
Okay, so like bringing it back a little bit, there are a lot of moving parts here. And then for you, Nicole, here, it would have been a really common mistake to say like let shoe equal require and then your models, and then shoe, right? Like that might have made sense, except we need to say shoe equals sequelize.import models shoe, because sequelize is the database, and then we're importing that table to create that reference. It's like we're creating the actual reference to the table in the database, not just our JavaScript file. Okay. Cool. Go ahead and let me know if that works. Sweet. Okay. There are about, when we take a step back though, there are, on the server side, about 3 steps to this. There's configuring your model. Okay. There's configuring your route. And then there's implementing the route into your application. Okay. Those are the 3 steps. There are some intermediate things that you need to do. Make sure that you're doing, like, you need to, one way or another, you need to update the tables in your database. What two ways can you do that? Camille? Or what else?
Just have that handle changes, then in the set state, and get that target value.
You don't want to help her out?
Drop something on.
Drop
Drop the table.
You can drop the table. How do we drop the table though, just for clarification? Force true. Thank you, Clayton. Okay. So again, step back, the higher level steps to setting up to adding that CRUD functionality on your server side. Set up your model, set up your route, implement your route. Okay. The route part of that I think takes the most time, because we only configured for one type of request in our route. We only configured for the post. Okay, but how tough is it for us to implement a get?
The same thing as a post.
Kind of the same thing. Whoops. I'm actually thinking about referencing something I wrote here. Okay. Let's just try this find all. Whoops, I keep... One sec, I'll take a step back here. Okay. I'm in shoe. I'm adding a route. I'm adding a route to our shoe.
So, wait. Why does the force shoe is on here instead of the app?
Oh, did I do this instead? Oh, okay, my bad. Yep. I'm definitely meant to do that here. Good catch. The sync.true, the force true, we would normally set that up here inside of our app.js before anything else. What? And that's what I did. And yeah, you were copying what I had. You guys were copying what I had up here. That's okay. I mean, I must have just thought that it was in the wrong place or right place. But yeah, let's see if this route does what we want it to do. Also, I'm bad for not using NodeMon right now, so that it would just be updating as I make changes to my files, right? Okay, let's try this. I'm gonna send this back again. Okay, so my shoe is created. What if I send a GET request now? Found the shoes, and it returns my shoes. Okay, let's look at that GET. Let's look at that GET implementation. So I said, okay, when I receive a GET request, run some function. Okay, and then I did shoe.findAll. Once you find all of them, you have. I just did a .then. A .then, so a then accepts two different parameters, a success and a failure. Okay, so if it succeeds, let's send the shoes out. If it didn't, let's send the error message back. It's like we can repeat this pattern. We can also, if we want to set up for delete. Okay, if I want to delete my shoe. The only thing at this point that is like not off the top of my head or might not be off the top of everyone's head is what method do you call on the shoe, right? I can just reference something that I set up a while ago. Find by ID and remove. Okay, well, I can do that. There's probably another one. Find by ID and
We use like destroy or something.
dot destroy. Is it destroy?
I think so, right? Yeah, we use destroy. Yeah.
Destroy.
Dot destroy.
Is that where like, and then you have like a where property? It's like where object. Spot check me here. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's probably like where like name, where, well, let's do like,
yeah, it's dot destroy and then where we did ID data.
ID what?
ID, but we set up a variable for that.
Okay. Where ID equals rec.body dot shoe.id. Yeah, we could do that. Let's just do body.id.
All I was saying is that we set up a variable above it that was the request body ID, login ID for logs.
Okay. Cool. So shoe.destroy where ID equals rec.body.id. Okay. Let's try that out. So double check that everything's running. Should be. So I'm going to post another shoe. Post a couple. Okay. Then I'm going to delete. Equals 1. So I should delete the first one. Oh, ID is not defined.
you gotta close the ID. Like after the where, you gotta close that into a bracket.
Like that?
Yeah.
Let me just take a look at what you got.
Yeah.
Getting all of our shoes back. Let's try deleting. Ah! Come on. What's going on? What's going on?
Lost connection.
Did I lose internet maybe? That shouldn't have that shouldn't matter though.
You have to pass the ID to the
What's that?
You have to pass the ID. You shouldn't.
It's supposed to be res send.
Yes. However, I don't know if that's going to.
Does it need to be the data shoe at the end as well? So it knows it's referencing that.
Yeah, we could definitely add that. So we could definitely just. However, yeah, we could do that. There we go. Okay. All right, that should work. Cool. Let's post our shoe a couple times. Okay. Let's get our shoe.
Is the ID data supposed to be just an integer or in parentheses?
There we go. There we go. There we go.
Yeah, I got an error.
Okay. Successfully deleted shoe. Okay, now if I go and get my items again, shoe 1 should not be there, and it's not. Okay, sweet. Couple little syntax things. Yeah, no big deal. This is what your route should look like. Point is this. Let's take a step back for a second. The point is, initially setting it up took a minute. We did our model, we did our route, we implemented our route. From there, we've already added 2 other pieces of CRUD functionality. We added the get, the read, and we added the delete. The delete is the, delete counterpart. The only thing we would have to do here is update, and update is not that difficult. You could reference what we did in the workout log, right? So from here, you guys would probably like to see some interaction maybe on the client side, perhaps. Okay, we could do that. Are you guys good back there?
No, he's got a little bit of error.
Oh boy.
Let's take a look.
And here on his live stream, we're all happy to be here. I think the mic picked me up. Let us check.
2 data calories there.
Right.
Curious. You have to wait 10 minutes.
In every other place. We
Yeah.
data calories. However, something else to consider.
Oh yeah, yours is
This one
really
does
far.
have
Yeah,
some
you still
data,
type
so
it.
here you would see.
You're still creating shoe.
down
It
here.
seems we
So you have
can
lowercase
be
calories and that's uppercase
Yeah.
calories.
Well, just this. Okay.
You're not actually passing anything here.
I actually found like some really good like mics that clip on mics.
So basically, it's like you take this.
And they're just tiny little things.
That's
Yeah. That's good. That's
It's
really
like-
cheap.
And they're
That's all.
I have a
yeah, it's
the
totally fine.
downside to them.
So now
Absolute garbage.
what do you mean?
And you can actually keep
It's
that.
really good sound quality. Like overall, you're not going to be happy.
Or they get destroyed really quickly.
But the bad part about them is for them being wireless,
This time you have to.
have the ID.
like when they're walking around.
Also, sure.
Like just plug your server, both that you can actually kind of wear. It's like 200.
Oh my
Like-
god.
200, 300. It's when I saw it, I was like, wow.
Yeah, that's for pro.
Why would I do that? Then when I can simply like,
Oh, that's what they have, like, shows and stuff.
yeah, they have like shows that they're getting that type of money.
Let me see.
That is line 25 column. Just
Yeah, no, sorry. I'll check the. I'll check when I get
I'm
back.
actually really curious what
it's that.
This guy. They have a show. It's like two.
It's this.
See how my
Hosts, I guess you can call it. They use that type of mic.
It's dot destroy bracket where colon bracket ID.
No wonder.
Oh,
that's
I
terrible.
The good thing is that
No,
YouTube actually
Oh,
stores.
no, ID is that. Okay.
So does
So I can't see very well.
You can set it to.
you can set it to store your streams, but like yeah, a lot of people.
All right.
Oh, wait.
Let's look at some client interaction here.
I mean, you can upload it to stream because they it doesn't like them.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Client?
Yep, dev orders.
Okay. Cool. See what's going on. Looks like my client's actually been running this entire time, so that's fine. So what I've got here is a sign up. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and just like add a very similar form like this. And I'm not going to worry about like tabs and stuff like that because it's like that's a whole other issue. The whole point is eventually you'll find yourself getting to a form. The main idea is this, okay? We'll talk big idea first before we dive into the code on the client side. We have our API set up. For our client side, how are we going to talk to our API? How are we going to send information to our API? Ajax. Sweet. So is that new? Okay. Moderately. About as new as, you know, what, 5 weeks now?
What?
2 weeks.
6 weeks? You know. It's well, we're 6 weeks into the program, so it's like about 4. 4?
Yeah.
Only 4 weeks.
Yeah,
huh?
Or, yeah.
Yeah, we still
It hasn't
like,
been that long.
like
Feels like a long time.
Okay.
All right.
You're leaving us so soon.
Is it?
This is the 5th week.
Oh, is it the fifth? Okay.
This is 5th, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna have 4 weeks. Yeah, okay. We're more than 4 weeks.
The idea is we'll have some form, and when we submit it, we'll, you know, send that information, the form input information to our Ajax, through Ajax to our API. But let's just do it, you know. We talk about how it's easy, but let's just do it then, right? Okay. So I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to refactor I'm going to add another button here that's like add shoe and just like let that pop up a modal with a form. And then the modal will have the Ajax, and then I'll, you know, take that form, write some JavaScript that takes the inputs and then ships out some jQuery. Okay. So let's do that. I'm going to take a button I've already made.
Copy paste.
Yep, because why not? Okay. I'm going to call this the shoe modal. And this is going to be a warning. Shoe button.
Add your shoe.
Add shoe.
Then you got sad your shoe.
Add shoe. Whoa, sad shoe.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes they're not always happy.
We need happy shoes.
Let's create some distance here. I like the look right now, but we do need to have some. Let's give this ID a little more. Let's give this an ID of like shoe button row. Okay. And then I'm not going to nitpick the style too much because you just can't. And we'll say like what, like 2%? Something like that.
There we go.
I think that looks all right. Okay. Yay. So that's not too bad. So we're going to click that button and then a modal's going to pop up. Okay. We do like modals. Modals are super, you know. They're super sweet. Okay. This is looking for some shoe modal. Let's see what modal I've already got created. Looks like I've got a sign up modal. Here's what I think. I think I'm not going to create a whole other. Oh, I'm going to take the sign in modal since. So I'm going to take that sign in modal, right? Not quite. I'm going to take that sign in model and I'm just going to jack it.
Coffee hates food.
Just gonna copy foo. And I am gonna use a keyboard shortcut called Control D. I'm selecting sign in, sign in, sign in, sign in, sign in, sign in. And I'm gonna change it to
How do you do that again?
shoe. Boom. I just converted this sign-in modal to a shoe modal.
But how do you do that?
You select some text and then press Control D to select the next instance or like the next occurrence of that.
Oh god.
Yeah, you do start to feel like a wizard, don't you?
Oh my god. Escape is get out of it. That's gonna save me so much time from now on.
Let's save
things twice as fast now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's save that and refresh our page.
Add shoe.
Now, what's the shoes username and password?
Yeah, exactly.
We talked about that. Earlier. Said shoes can't sign in.
Yep.
Full contraire.
Liar.
Okay, we need to make some adjustment here to our sign-in.
Only a few. Just a slight adjustment.
We really do only need to make a few adjustments. We need to change these input placeholders from username and password to like type and
Another one.
what?
You add another one?
Yeah, for the image URL. Good call. And we'll make that one a long button. Let's do it. Placeholder. We don't want username.
Type.
Alright, so select it, then Control D, and then what do you do?
It shows you the
1 sec.
again and again and again. Picking the next one down.
I'm selecting the text, Control D, and then what was our first thing? Type.
Type, yeah.
Okay.
And the second was
I'm gonna make the placeholder type. The type for this is also text, not password.
that'd be awkward.
Yeah. We'll make this brand. Was that it?
Name. I think.
Yeah, name. Dang it, Ian! Why did you have to pick shoes? They're so difficult to. We could have done goldfish.
That would have been way harder.
There's only one kind of fish. It's just goldfish. Very simple.
Div dot, yeah. Div dot row. Okay. Div dot column.
It's a bluefish.
It's still technically goldfish.
No, it's not.
You're terrible, dude. You're terrible.
It's clearly in the description. It's a goldfish. Alright.
You know, goldfish are all gold, right?
They need to be. Otherwise, they didn't change their name.
You child the fight.
Fish wear a fake
The
mustache.
dog isn't really on a farm either.
There we go.
Okay, let's again add another ID to that row so that we can, space it out nicely. So we'll say image input row. How did I get mine to look nice? Very, very carefully. Okay.
Can you center the placeholder?
You know what's great too is that look, I even added some form validation here.
It's left over.
Please enter a URL. It even knows that it needs to be a URL. See, so it's like, 1, it checks to make sure there's content in there, and 2, please enter a URL. Pretty please. Please? Yeah, yeah. I guess it knows somehow. We'll see in the future. Okay. Anyway.
We did it, ready?
We've pretty much done it. So now we've got shoe form button. Okay. And now we'll go into our app.js. We're pretty much there, right? Actually, that's all the HTML we needed to set up. Man, not too bad. To be fair, I had a decent little scaffold set up already. So like adding and modularizing it wasn't too bad. So shoe form button. So when the shoe form button is set up or is clicked, actually, you know what? We don't care about when the shoe form button is clicked. Do we, Ian?
No, we do not.
What? Actually, can someone explain to me, like, what event do we want to look for and why in our JavaScript?
Form submission.
Yeah.
Not button click.
Not click, but why?
Because you can't validate it like passwords or usernames.
You can still the validation still exists there, but what happens when we click on when we're listening for a click event?
Oh, yeah, it just enters a string. An empty stupid string.
Yeah. So, like, anybody who has, raise your hand if you've added form validation on the client side. You have, right? Okay. So, like, there is this issue that you will run into, and I'm telling it to you right now how to avoid it, okay? So, heed this warning. When you are looking to add some very simple client-side form validation, you want to respond to the form submit, not the button click. Because the button click event will fire regardless of whether or not those required or min or mic or max length parameters are met. Does that make sense? So like when you click the button, if you're binding your listeners to that click event, the click doesn't care if the click doesn't care if the form ever gets submitted. It just knows that when the button is clicked, do something.
Whatever's in there gets dumped.
It just goes in when you click it and does stuff. However, if you wait for the form to be submitted and you listen for a form submission, the HTML can kind of do its job a little more. It can validate the inputs. It can make sure that you've got a password entered in, and then it will submit the form, right? Does that make sense? So instead of listening for shoe form button dot click, we're going to say shoe form dot submit. Okay, that is what I care about. Sweet. So we've got test button. Daquan's like, so this is why, and I don't even know if you've tried this yet, but
Yeah.
pretty much on this part.
Cool. So what we're gonna do is
I was part for like 3 hours last night. You know, like freaking HTML required supposed to work.
shoeform.submit. I'm passing an E. Why do I do E dot prevent? What am I doing that?
To keep the page from reloading,
Exactly.
because it'll reload when you submit a form.
And hey, look at that. We can do a dot post. Okay. Actually, and I need to preface this here in a moment. So I'm going to do a dot post at what URL? Probably this one, just changing it from user sign up to just shoe.
Hey Jay,
Yeah.
can you step back just a second? I think that we might have missed something back here.
On the HTML?
Yeah.
It's okay. We need to take a second.
Okay. And we are going to submit an object, a shoe object. And that shoe object has a couple parameters. The type. It has a name and and a URL. I'm writing the code. It's got syntax errors, I know. I'm just like scaffolding out my code a little bit here. The name, where are we going to get the type from? Shoe input type. I can just copy that and I can say jQuery selector dot val. Okay, comma. Let's go to the next line. jQuery selector, yeah. Shoe input name dot val. jQuery selector. We see this pattern. Shoe dash input dash URL dot val. Okay, when it's done, we can kind of replicate what I've done in the other one. This sign up modal dot modal hide, that's how you hide a modal. So I'm going to do that. So when it's done, or dot then, I guess I like doing dot then because then you can pass in the success and the fail in both areas. So we'll say data. Okay.
Jay, I'm so sorry. I was talking to Cleve here. Can you take a step back now from the submit portion?
Like, why do we care about submitting the form as opposed?
About that. What did you talk about directly after that?
What did I say after? For those of you who are listening, this is a test for you. What did I say?
Thank you, Clay.
What was I talking about?
Stream on your phone is probably 10 minutes behind.
What was I? What was I talking about right after deciding what event we want to listen for?
You were just setting up the Ajax.
I was just setting up the Ajax, wasn't I?
Yeah, it was the prevent default and the post.
Oh yes, that's it. That's
You're
it.
also telling us how to hide a modal.
That's where I'm at now. That's where I'm at now. What I did was this. I said I set up the jQuery selector. I selected shoe form, and by the way, I didn't set it up properly. I forgot the pound symbol. So glad that we went back and looked.
Where is that set up at? Is it like in between all the everything in the app.js?
No.
I have this. Remember, this is the document ready thing in app.js. Ignore all of this crap. Okay. Ignore these. These are from the other times that we've talked. This is a new method. Okay. It's a new function to run. Shoeform.submit E. And, you know, really, we just need to start doing ourselves the favor of cutting down our characters. If an arrow function takes one parameter, you don't even need the parens. You can just say parent or argument, arrow function, do something with that argument.
Default keeps us from refreshing the page.
Yes. Yes. Cool. Right. So that's what I'm doing down here, by the way. That's what this is. This is an arrow function.
And for the post, the URL would be like when we launch it, would that be the actual URL when we change it to?
Yeah. So it might make sense that, remember, like in our applications, in the workout log, we have API base, right? Again, this is a little off base. This is slightly off base from what you guys have written, but like it's just similar enough to where you should be able to say like, oh, this is just the URL. It's just the API base plus shoe. Is that?
This is getting posted on YouTube.
Yeah. However, you're going to have to somehow jump around because I have not organized this, or like I'm probably not going to like add bookmarks for things. So you might just have to like fast forward or move backwards. Anyway, for brevity's sake, let's try and continue on with it. So when we're done and we've got the data successfully, let's console log data. Data, maybe, I don't know. We'll just console log. Console log, yeah. Okay, and then let's close the modal. So we'll do shoe modal dot modal hide. Okay, so we'll do that, and then if we get an error, let's just console.log error. Okay. I'm going to like trim this down. See, this is the same thing as what we've got written up here. I'm going to take out the brackets. I'm going to take out those extra parens. Makes it a little more readable, right? I think so. The more that we keep it just like English words, the better probably, right? So we can kind of trim off that fat, trim off the extra curly braces, trim off the parens. That's just syntactic sugar. That's nice.
Eventually they can mess up your whole program if you
Yeah.
misplace one of them.
What are we thinking? Cool. I think this might work. Let's try it. Yeah, usually it doesn't work the first time, right? Let's see if sign up works. I mean, it should, right? We didn't really change anything. Let's double check. Yeah, user created. Sweet. And actually, I did just yeah. So, cool. User create success. Sweet. Let's add a shoe. Type. Boot. Actually, flip flop.
Is that a shoe?
It's a type. It's a type of a shoe.
Only
Yeah.
if you wear socks.
What? Is there like a brand of flip flop? Not okay. Nike.
Going fancy.
Nike Air Sandal.
Expensive and break that.
There's probably not a Nike Air Sandal, but I'm just gonna search it anyway.
Probably a Jordan Air.
Okay. Sweet.
There we go.
You can even
Like the Reebok thing in the time.
Yeah, let's grab like this guy right here.
There we go.
Have a good time. Yeah. Let's do that.
$30
yeah,
sole and straps.
Nike Air Max Sandal. There we go.
Oh,
It's
man,
for
you're not
basketball
kidding.
playing, I mean, you can jump higher with those.
Look at that. Successfully created a shoe. Congrats.
Was betting on
Some flip flops.
I'm here to collect.
And it specify a paragraph.
We might be able to like how far from the how difficult with this what we have here would it be to go and say add a button that gets all the sandals or shoes from the database, Ajax get dot then if we have the data do something, if we don't return the error message. What do you think?
You just added a shoe and nobody signed it.
I did.
So it's not tied in.
Yeah, it's
What?
It's not attached to a user ID.
No, it's not.
So you should just
How would we do that then?
Well, in your application, that's what's great.
That's what we're trying to do.
But that's what's great about where you guys are starting on your deployed applications. your applications are already configured to handle attaching a user to the request once they've signed in. You don't need to worry about handling user validate, like you don't need to worry about validation, session tokens. Those things are already done for you in the modules. From the point where you're at, you should be able to say rec.user.id and like set that as the owner, because when you sign in, not user.body. Yeah, so what we do in session validate, I think it's one of the middlewares. We have there's no middleware in this demonstration, but yeah, it's validate session, and inside the validate session middleware, that's where you like attach a user to the request. Okay. Maybe we need to do a session on middleware at some point. I thought I did, actually. Didn't I? Yeah. Validate user. This is we did this. We did this in one of the walkthroughs, where you check to see if there is a session, and if there is, you say rec.user equals the user, all that stuff. So we technically could have assigned a user to our shoes, you know. That wouldn't have been too difficult, right? App.js for the client side. Cool. This is why I like the client. This is why, honestly, client side stuff is fun. Once you get the server all set up, the client is just like add buttons, make them do stuff with jQuery, you know. Ping an API, and once you've got the data you want, do cool stuff with it, you know. So if your API is configured, so like this actually meets the requirement of the enhanced workout log already. If it this does handle it. Yeah. Well, it's not full CRUD at the moment. You're right, but all I would have to do is add one more method to my route, the put method, and I could just scaffold that using something that we've already written before, you know. I did, remember? Check it.
Yeah, the methods are all created. We just need to actually create
See?
an interface in the client
Shu
side
has
to get it and delete it.
Shu has create, read, not update, but delete. We're missing that one. The update.
You flop fingers on it.
Yeah. Cool. We have
Well, the live stream's over here, not over here. You can do whatever
create,
you want to do.
read, not update, but delete. We need that one. So, okay. Yeah. So, questions on... I'm gonna ask you guys some questions just to like test some knowledge here real quick. Okay, I want to add. I've decided what data I want to work with in my database. Okay, I've decided on some information, not Shu, but chips. Okay, where do I start?
Server. It'll start at the model folder.
Yeah, because the models correlate to what in our database?
They're basically set the variables and definitions, things of that nature.
What I'm looking for there is tables. You set up the columns and tables in the database. The models correlate to the tables in our database. Okay, cool, nice. Once you've got the model set up, okay, now what? Configure your route. Cool. Once you've done that, there are two things I really am looking for. I told you one, and then I said there's a small thing that you need to make sure you do. What's the thing after you set up your routes? App.js connect them, aka implement the route. Okay? Implement those. If you try and jump in and do that, you're going to get an error because those tables haven't been added, because the database hasn't been updated. How do we update? There are two ways that we can update the database.
Dropping or migrating?
Dropping or migrating. What tool do we use for both of those?
Here we use the dropping.
Sequelize.
Oh yeah, sequelize.
Cool. And then what command is it to drop the table?
Force true.
Yeah, I'm looking for even more than that though. It's
Sync, sequelize.
Yeah, sequelize.sync.
That's saying force true. Brackets for true.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it.
You can also go on the command line and go on.
Yep. Yeah. And if you guys were paying attention when Ken was talking, he discussed migrations and using the sequelize CLI. So you can do a lot of it in the terminal. You don't have to, write too much in your files. Okay, cool. Once you've got the server side set up, so you can move on to the client side, and it's as simple as configuring your HTML using Ajax, using jQuery. I don't know. I feel like you guys could, I feel like you guys can go and knock it out now. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Any other questions before we break out?
Well, so now, see,
He's like, give me something. He's like, give me something more challenging. This is easy. I've got this. Yawn. Adding CRUD functionality.
Ask questions if you got it. No. Yeah, this is actually it. This is your happy place.
Yep.
I thought I did, but I don't think I did. Because I have to go and try these first before I say it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I don't have any questions. I can follow what you're doing, but once I start doing it, questions will arise.
Perhaps.
Questions will be asked.
Also, this is going to conclude the stream, ending now.